text flow. Now before we begin, make sure we go to Window, Workspace, make sure we're on Essentials, and reset the Essential Workspace. Collapse any pop-ups or windows that pop up. Now if we can go to File, Open, and open the text flow bags file. This window will pop up, or may pop up on your machine, indicating that a font is missing. Now if I move this window to the side slightly, you can see these two fonts here are highlighted pink. What that means is that font is not installed on this system and it can't display it properly, and it definitely may not print properly. So it needs to be fixed. So if you close it, it will stay missing. You can click Find Font, where you can actually tell it where the font is if you have it. Obviously we don't. So I'm going to scroll up to the top and select Arial. We all have Arial. I'm going to select our font, the one that's missing, and I can select Change All. And it changed that font, as you can see now, to Arial. And it also, the pink highlighting, the light pink highlighting has disappeared. So now I'm going to click Done. Next up, I'm going to change the colour of our title. Obviously pink's not the most, well, it just doesn't look very good. So we're going to change the colour of the title. I'm going to select it all manually, or we can triple click. So a single click will put our cursor within the frame, a double click will select the word, a triple click will select the line. If you had a much bigger story of paragraphs, 4 clicks would select everything. With this selected, I'm going to change its colour. There are a couple of ways of doing this. We could just go to the swatches and click black, or we have the fill and the stroke down here. So let me just make that slightly bigger. So we have the stroke, an outline, and then we have the fill. If you're changing one or the other, make sure it's to the front by clicking on it. So it's in front of the other. We're changing the fill, so make sure the fill is to the front. If you double click on the fill, then you get your color picker, where you could in theory just change the color here to black and just do OK. But like I said, there's another way of doing it within a swatches palette where you can have black. Now be careful, registration and black are two totally different things. Black is 100% black, 100% K. Registration is a mixture of K and CMYK mixed together. So do not get these mixed up. This is used for crop marks, etc. on your final print for the guillotining, etc. So make sure if you're using black, use black, not registration. Different things. Now I'm going to click off to see what that looks like. I've decided I'd like this outlined or stroked. So I'm going to select it again. But this time, rather than clicking here and then setting the black, I'm actually going to just swap the two over. So I'm going to make the inside transparent and the stroke on the outside. So click this button, it swaps between the two to get this effect. You could have also done the same in the swatches palette up there. So it would do exactly the same thing. For example. Now, I want to do the same thing down here. So I'm just quickly going to select out, select black, and swap it over, and make sure the pink is set to none. There we go. Gone wrong. Let's try it again. There we go. Now next up, I want to align this to the right. So with the cursor still in that frame, on the character selection, you can look up the top and you should be able to see you've got your alignment tools. But if you have a short or not such a wide screen, you may find those tools aren't available. And that's where you need to jump into the paragraph selection tools. And then your alignment tools are here. So I'm just going to align it to the right. I'm going to maximize my screen again. And then click off. Check what it looks like. and then go back to normal. Next up, we're going to change the color of the frames where these bags are being held. So I'm going to select the frame itself, and again there's more than one way of changing this color. We could double click here, set our colors. We could go to the color palette, or we could even go up here, select from the predefined ones, or again double click and set our color. So with a double click with a color picker up, I'm going to change it to cyan 40, magenta 20, yellow 20, and black 0, and then click OK. Now I want to add the same color to here. What we're going to do in this instance is use the eyedropper. Now the eyedropper will take a color you click on and then place it where you then click again. So we simply copy from here to here. A very quick way of copying colors across. If you haven't added a color to your swatch but you want to keep reusing it, that's a very quick way of doing it. Ideally, when you've got a color you know you're going to use again, you would simply add it to your swatch. But in this instance, we're just copying it from here to here. Now we're going to have a look at effects. We're going to add an effect to each one of these bags. So what we're going to do is add a very simple drop shadow. So select your bag, and then the way to add the effects usually is to go to Window and open the Effects palette. In the Effects palette, there's lots of different things, but right down the bottom there's a little Effects button where we can select Drop Shadow. Once we've got the Drop Shadow selected, you can see all these other effects that are available. With the Drop Shadow selected though, you can see all the options here. I'm not going to change any of these today, and I'm just going to select the default. If you can't see it changing on your display, make sure the preview button is selected, and then do OK. Another way of doing exactly the same thing is to select one of the bags. Up the top here, you've got a little FX button, which we can then click on and do Drop Shadow. Again, I'm just selecting the default OK. I'm going to close this window. And rather than do it one by one, you can actually select select the frame, hold my shift key down, select the next frame, and again go to the effects, drop shadow, OK. A quick way of applying the effect to more than one object at a time. Now in our layers palette, I'm going to select our text layer because we're going to add the descriptions to these bags. How we're going to do that is go to File, Place, and select the bags.docx file and click Open. Once you do that, you'll get this icon that comes up. This is the loaded text icon. It's basically the computer saying, or InDesign saying, sorry, where do you want me to place this text? Before, we've been automatically having frames which we've placed the text directly into. This time there are no frames available, so it's saying where should I place this text. What I'm going to do carefully between these two blue guidelines and between these two margins, I'm going to add or draw by clicking the mouse and dragging across a frame. And you see the text appears in the frame, and if you remember from before, this little icon means there is more text available or more content for this frame. So we click on it and draw our next frame and keep going until all our frames are complete. There we go. Right, I'll zoom in at this point to make it a little bit more legible. And what we're going to do is with the type tool is simply click in the frame, using the enter key, move the text so it's under its corresponding bags. Double click the hand tool to zoom back out.